compatible with mobile devices and equipped with a screen reader for visually impaired users. It would have an embedded glossary to quickly and effortlessly define legal terms. It could be translated into more than 100 languages. It would have a quick exit button for users in dangerous circumstances looking at pages containing sensitive information. It would tell people who need lawyers but are convinced attorneys are out of reach how to get good ones. The desire was certainly there, but year after year, we struggled to find funding and to figure out exactly how to implement the nitty-gritty details of building such a website. And then two significant things happened. First, the pandemic, and along with it, the American Rescue Plan Act, which provided grant money to the state library for technology projects. And then out of the blue, an email from Carissa Vogel, the new director of the University of Iowa's Law Library, introducing herself and asking if there might be any joint projects on which our two agencies could maybe collaborate. And so began months of planning and hard work that led to the birth of the People's Law Library. The state library contracted with the University of Iowa's Law Library to build the website with technical support from Iowa State University. The University of Iowa's law librarians, who have both library science and law degrees, designed the website, compiled and coordinated existing content from legal information providers around the state, and also composed original content. Three initial subject areas, the ones about which the public asked the most questions, were fleshed out: family law, landlord-tenant law, and consumer law. In the second year, the subject of guardianship and conservatorship was fleshed out to become a separate topic, and these additional subjects were added: abuse of older persons and dependent adults, public benefits, life planning, and veterans. In more good news, the website made it into the state library's 2023 through 2027 5-year strategic plan for our Library Services and Technology Act funding, and was accepted in August 2022 by the Federal Institute of Museum and Library Services. This means that the website is now an official project of the state library with goals, objectives, and activities attached to it, as well as oversight from the federal government. So funding to maintain, enhance, expand, and promote it is ensured for at least the next 5 years. During this time, 3 or more subject areas will be added to the website each year. While I hope you'll continue to refer patrons with requests for legal information to the State Law Library, we also hope this website can help your patrons assess their legal issues in real time and sometimes just in time. For example, a public library in a small northeastern Iowa town told us this story. For over 10 years, we have dealt with regular patron Joe, who swings between good and bad with his finances, personal hygiene, physical and mental health. He can be hard to understand, and he gets impatient when we don't know exactly what he wants from us. He disappeared about 2 months ago after typically visiting the library 2 to 3 times per day. One Saturday, he called to explain that he had been involuntarily committed to a mental hospital by his sister, who was suing for guardianship of him. He didn't know anything about guardianship, and his social worker said she couldn't help him. As a librarian, I didn't know anything about it either. He begged me to help him. I knew that the state law library was closed until Monday, but then I remembered the People's Law Library website. I went there and printed out every page under the guardianship topic, including what the process involves and what his sister would have to prove, along with other details that clearly explained what would happen. The website referenced Iowa Legal Aid, so I included the organization's contact information. I drove the packet of printouts to the hospital to deliver to Joe. That was a few months ago. Last night, Joe stopped by the library. He looked good, healthy, clean, clear-eyed. He told me that thanks to the information I gave him, he won the case against his sister and she was not awarded guardianship. I may have taken the time to help Joe, but this resource provided by the state library, this People's Law Library of Iowa, is what really helped Joe. And I wanted to let you know that. I'm going to cry. No. And now I want to turn it over to Amy Koopman from the University of Iowa. She is the Assistant Director for Scholarly Communications and Innovation at the University of Iowa Law Library. Amy?
Thank you so much, Mandy. It has really been such a pleasure working with Mandy and others at the State Law Library on the People's Law Library of Iowa. Before we jump into the People's Law Library website, I want to talk a bit about the things we kept in mind as we created this website to hopefully give you some context as we look more closely at the website. So as Mandy noted, this website is designed to connect Iowans with basic legal information on select topics written in a clear and accessible way. One thing we kept in mind as we created the website was how people would access the website. We knew from our colleagues at the People's Law Library of Maryland, who were very generous in sharing their experiences in creating their website, that many people would likely access the website from their mobile phone, so the site is adaptable to mobile devices. We also knew that most users would likely end up on the individual page after searching in a search engine rather than visiting the homepage of the People's Law Library and then browsing. Now, that said, we also wanted to build a website in a way that it would be straightforward to navigate for someone who went directly to the website and then browsed for information from there. And a particular use case we had in mind was the situation that Mandy just talked about. A public librarian who receives a legal information question, perhaps at a time that they can't direct the user for a quick answer from the state library, but has somewhere to point them that they can look to. So we tried to design the site in a way that it was very easy to browse. We'll jump into the site momentarily, and we'll see how each topic is laid out. But we didn't just put all pages under a content area in alphabetical order, but instead organized them conceptually. Now, something else we kept in mind as we designed the website is that the People's Law Library of Iowa is just one piece of a larger legal information landscape in Iowa. For example, the Iowa State Bar Association provides access to some forms and other content for members of the public, as well as having the Iowa Find a Lawyer directory. This program is great because attorneys who agree to be listed in the directory charge $25 or less for up to a 30-minute initial consultation. We point to this website from the People's Law Library website because many Iowans aren't aware these resources exist and could provide them with a good starting point. Another great resource is Iowa Legal Aid. That's something else that Mandy mentioned in her story. It is a great resource with lots of tools, and obviously legal aid is incredibly important to helping low-income Iowans with their civil legal needs. We point to their website throughout the People's Law Library of Iowa. We also have many great state legal resources. The Iowa Judicial Branch provides information, guides, and forms for members of the public. The Iowa Attorney General's website is a great resource for individuals with questions, for example, about consumer protection issues. And last, but certainly not least, the Iowa Legislature website provides Iowans with direct access to Iowa statutes and administrative rules. I really want to stress how important we are in Iowa to have the Iowa Legislature's website as a resource. Now, it's not the easiest website in the world to navigate, but it does have so much information. And while it seems obvious that states would make their legal information easily accessible, that's actually not the case in all states. So throughout the People's Law Library, we link to these great resources that already exist, using the People's Law Library as a way to connect users to these resources. We also made a concerted effort to connect people directly with the text of laws on a topic through the Iowa Legislature website. Now I want to jump into the People's Law Library website directly, so hopefully you can all see that now. Here on the People's Law Library website, you'll see a few features that were important to us as we designed the website. Over on the right side of the screen, you'll see that quick escape button that Mandy mentioned. And if a user pushes this quick escape button, they're taken away from the People's Law Library website and directly to a Google search. Now, for people who may be looking at sensitive information that they don't want others to see, such as divorce or child custody, it offers them an easy escape from the website. Of course, it doesn't delete their browser history, but it does get them away from the website at that moment. Over on the left side of the screen, you'll see the Google Translate add-on. As we know, many people in Iowa don't speak English as their first language. And while Google Translate is no substitute for an actual translation, adding this feature allows a user to easily access the Google Translate option, which allows us to provide translation into a wide variety of languages. As you can see here, it's a very long list. And so if we click into a particular language, you'll see that it then translates the text of the website. If we want to get out of that, we can click up at the top into Show Original and then close out the translation option if we want. But this is really a way to translate the website into many more languages than we would otherwise be able to offer if we were using a non-automated translate feature. Here on the website, you'll also find a link to get in touch with the State Law Library for individuals who have follow-up questions or legal information questions on topics not covered by the website. I'll jump into the research topics area shortly, but I first want to note a couple of other features you can see from the top menu of the site. First, here I want to note legal terms defined. One of the challenges of drafting content that attempts to explain a legal concept in a straightforward way is that the language of the law often isn't very straightforward. And to strip that language out completely would really be a disservice to the reader, because using the appropriate language can help that reader find additional legal information. And certainly it's important to use that language when engaging directly with the legal system. So our legal terms defined section is a glossary of legal terms. Our colleagues at the Iowa Judicial Branch were great partners in this and said, take whatever you want from the glossary on our website. So many of these definitions included here come from the Iowa Judicial Branch's website. And these definitions link directly from the content on our website to the definitions included. We also added additional definitions and in some cases revised the definitions that were included in the Iowa Judicial Branch's glossary. And we'll take a look at how the terms are automatically linked within our content articles shortly. Another dropdown I want to point out here along the top bar is the How Do I dropdown. And for the How Do I dropdown, I want to in particular note the research legal issues. We provide this section with some guidance on conducting legal research. Obviously, this website can't cover all topical areas of the law, so we wanted users to have resources to refer to as they began their own legal research. The second link I want to point out here is the Find a Lawyer link. Again, this website is not meant to replace lawyers, but rather to help Iowans find good lawyers and think about when they may need a lawyer. So this link in our website lays out a variety of options that individuals can use as they're thinking about how they go about finding a lawyer or what resources might be available to them. We also have an internal search feature over on the right side where we can search the content of the website to get to pages that way. Now, of course, our research topics here are an important section of the website. And as Mandy mentioned, we started out with consumer law, family law, and housing law. We originally had housing law called landlord-tenant law, but we decided to change that to housing law with the hope that that would be a term that individuals were more familiar with and would be more representative of the variety of information covered in that section. If we look at our entire list of research topics now, as Mandy mentioned, And at the end of September, we launched 4 new content areas with additional information for Iowans. And we were fortunate to work with Chantel Smith, who spent many years working in the Iowa Attorney General's office on those content areas. You'll also see here that guardianship and conservatorships are pulled out as a separate topic. Those previously lived within the family law topic, but as Mandy noted, that's been something that people have found valuable and is now pulled out into its own separate content area. Now, as we think about navigating the research topics, I'm going to jump into family law. And you'll see here that for each individual entry, we can expand that entry so that a user can see the individual pages that fall within that particular subject area. And if we click on a page, we're taken into the content. And in addition to the content on the page, along the left side, there's a box that mentions related pages. So users that find themselves on one page can easily get to other pages on the same or similar topics. And also, again, we have our Ask a Law Librarian option to connect people with the state law library. For users who want to print out the content of the website, we do have a built-in print option here that lays out the printing in a way that cuts out the side stuff and just lets you see the basic text of the information. Now, I mentioned earlier that one of the things that was incredibly important to us as we worked on this website was linking out directly to the laws in Iowa. So throughout the content page here, you will see direct links out to Iowa law, and in some cases, Iowa cases, so that individuals can quickly access that information. As a legal information professional, nothing frustrates me more than ending up on a website and finding something that's very on point to the legal issue that I'm researching, but then seeing that they don't cite back to any actual authority that I could rely on in drawing conclusions. So that's one of the reasons that it was really important to us to connect Iowans directly with the text of the laws. As I mentioned earlier, our glossary feature also includes an option to directly connect the terms from the glossary into the article content areas. So as we look here, we'll see occasionally underlined terms. So here we have contract underlined. And anytime you see one of these terms underlined with a dashed line, if you click on that term, you're then taken to the definition from the glossary for that particular term. And you can then easily close out of that definition to get back to the content area. Now, that's a brief overview of the People's Law Library website and how you can navigate it. We absolutely want to give some time for questions, but I want to talk about a couple of other things quickly here as well. So you know the State Library has a ready-made linking block for library's website. It's called Legal Resources for Iowans. We'll see it here on our webpage. And above the logo, and it says easy to understand information on Iowa's laws and mores for the description. Librarians should contact one of the state library's district LRTs by phone or email to add this resource to libraries' PLOW websites. And because, as you all well know, as we create content areas for the People's Law Library, we do also want to get feedback from you all on what you find helpful and what you don't find helpful. So you'll find going forward that we will continue to expand the topics covered. We plan to add additional video and graphical explainers as well. We all have our own preferences for how we take in information, and we want to provide users with a variety of options for accessing the content on the website. We also continue to seek feedback from users and stakeholders, and we absolutely welcome your thoughts and ideas. On the People's Law Library website, at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see an option under website to link to feedback, where you can provide your feedback on the People's Law Library website. And we very much welcome your feedback. Now, with that overview, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Mandy and I would love to answer any questions you have about the People's Law Library.
I didn't see any questions come through, just a couple of comments about how great it is and very nice website, good website, and very resourceful for everyone. So that's always great to hear. It's a great job on that.
Again, I want to dispel the misperception that this is supposed to substitute for talking to a librarian. It's not at all. Please continue to refer people to the state law library so that we can give them lots more additional information to what's on the website. But this is to get them started. And we find that people often don't know if they have a legal problem. And if they do, if they figure out that they do, then they want to know what their options are. So that's basically what this website does, is get them started. And so don't feel like, we're trying to say, don't call us, leave us alone. You've got this resource. It's just one more tool in your tool belt.
And one of the reasons why I'm so glad that you continue to refer questions to Mandy in the state library is because the questions that Mandy gets are really inspirations for what we put on the website. So we talk to Mandy a lot and say, what are you hearing? What sort of questions and themes are coming up? So it's important that she continues to get those questions.
I see we have a question about contract law. That's probably a future area for us. We do not have that right now, but if you have any questions about contract law, be sure to contact us at the state library. Well, I guess we did a really, really good job, Amy. We dispelled any reason for people to ask us questions. Yeah, so if you have patrons who continually ask for something and you don't see it on this website, be sure to put it in the feedback that, hey, it'd be nice to have this area covered. I think employment law is coming up in the future, right, Amy?
Yes.
Employment and labor law. We get a lot of questions about that. It's a very complicated area. So maybe I don't know. Do we ever end early, Amanda? Oops, you're muted. There you go.
We can if you guys are good, but Nate just had another comment on there too. But
oh, okay. Well, you almost have to go to an attorney who specializes in contract law, because you're right, it is very complicated. When you go to that website for the Iowa State Bar Association, that's about the how to find a lawyer, you can click on a geographical area, either a county or a state, and then a practice area that you want the lawyer to specialize in. And so if you click on contract law, you're going to get attorneys who consider themselves to be experts in that area of law. So that helps.
I guess since we don't have any more questions, I think we'll just want to thank you guys, Mandy and Amy, for a great presentation. Lots of great info today. We really appreciate it. And to all the attendees, we will get your names checked off in Iowa Learns, and you'll get that alert to when the evaluation is open for that. And you guys have a great day. Thanks again. Appreciate y'all coming.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for everyone's